Thank you, Jim. The leader and Jim are exactly right. This has always been about politics, and today's actions of the speaker just confirm that. But frankly, and I've said this before, what else are they going to talk about? I mean, they're so focused on the January 6th committee. What else are they going to talk? Are they going to talk about crime? The fact that crime is up in every major urban area in this country. They're going to talk about the border crisis. I mean, think about this. March was the highest month on record for illegal crossings until April. April was the highest month on record until May. May was the highest month on record until June. Can't talk about that. They're going to talk about inflation. They're going to talk about the fact that the price of eggs is up, the price of milk is up, the price of bread is up, the price of gas is up, the price of an airline ticket is up, the price of the price of everything is up. They can't talk about that. So they're going to be partisan, and they're going to focus on this. But as the leader said, and as Mr. Banks said, I don't think they're going to address the fundamental question. The fundamental question of why wasn't there a proper security presence at the Capitol that day? They're not going to address that. And only one person can answer that question. Only one. Speaker of the United States House of Representatives. My hunch is the reason they don't want to address that question, my hunch is because what happened all last year? The Democrats normalized anarchy. They normalized rioting and looting. And when rioters and looters attacked our law enforcement personnel, when rioters and looters destroyed small businesses, what did Democrats do? They went out and raised money to bail them out of jail, and they continue to talk about defunding the police, and in fact did that in all these major urban areas, which is why crime is up. So they don't want to talk about that stuff. They just want to be partisan. They just want to continue to attack the former president. They want to play their political game. So I applaud Leader McCarthy for saying we're going to do our job. We're going to continue to work and get to the bottom and answer the questions that the leader raised, the questions that, frankly, the American people want answers to.
Something that doesn't exist, tell that to the Border Patrol agents. They got till November 1st. If they don't get a vaccine, they're fired. That exists. Tell that to the healthcare workers who just got canned in New York. The heroes, you all called them heroes. We all called them heroes because they were a year ago. Tell that to them. Something that doesn't exist. That is the dumbest thing I've heard said today. Holy cow. Tell the Border Patrol agents who've been busting their tail for now month after month, record illegal crossings every single month. March was the highest month on record until April. April was the highest month on record until May. May was the highest month on record until June. June was the highest month on record until July. 212,000 illegal encounters in that month alone. Something that doesn't happen. They're going to lose their job if they don't do what Joe Biden says. And you say something that doesn't happen. Oh my goodness. You said this was a waste of our time. This is maybe the most important thing we can talk about, the freedoms that are being taken from the very people we represent, something that doesn't exist. You got to be kidding me. This is kind of stuff that just ticks me off because this is so basic. The Constitution, I mean, this is fundamental liberty we're talking about, people's livelihoods, and you give us a lecture on something that doesn't exist.
Will the gentleman yield then?
No, I will not. That is truly unbelievable. These Border Patrol agents, they know it exists. They know it exists. Oh, and here's the irony of that one. We just had a briefing from Mr. Mayorkas, Secretary Mayorkas. You know what he said? When the people who violate the law come across, they're offered a chance to take the vaccine. They get a choice. They get a choice. But not the guys who busted their tail, working hard, protecting us. All they get is attacked by you guys. If they happen to ride a horse, they get attacked by you guys. They don't get a choice. No, this exists. This is a darn good amendment from my friend and colleague from North Carolina. This definitely exists. It is a fundamental issue the country is dealing with as we speak.
Thank you. The gentleman yields back. I now recognize Mr. Bishop, Chairman Bishop from North Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Beer, I guess I should say congratulations. Behold your handiwork. This is what you wanted. This is what you've advocated for years. This is what the President wanted. This is what Secretary Mayorkas wanted, what minority members here have relentlessly pursued. You've advocated an open and uncontrolled border, mass immigration. You're in charge.
No, I certainly haven't. I don't know where you're getting that. Where are you getting that?
I'll ask you a question when I'm ready.
Quote something.
I will. Mr. Mayorkas has been willing to flout U.S. immigration law to achieve the mass immigration that they and you favor. And no, the migrants don't become citizens in law, but they certainly come to the United States and they're released into the United States. And you consider that to be a good thing because you think it'll reduce poverty and improve the economy. Let me tell you how that works. There was an article in the New York Times on Saturday. I'm sure you read it. Alone and exploited, migrant children work brutal jobs across the U.S. Carolina Yoke, who came to the United States on her own last year to live with a relative she had never met. The number of unaccompanied minors entering the United States climbed to a high of 130,000 last year, 3 times what it was 5 years earlier, and this summer is expected to bring another wave. Guess what? The federal government is supposed to be in touch with them and place them with sponsors through the Department of Health and Human Services. But although the Health and HHS calls the minors it sends out a month after they go to live with these sponsors, many of whom they don't know, some of whom are sponsoring 20 children or more, the agency could not reach more than 85,000 children. Overall, the agency lost immediate contact with 1/3 of migrant children. By all means, let's bring more in so more end up in the situation of Carolina Yoke, probably.
So what is the
Or you
question?
could go to the article from last July. Smuggling migrants at the border is now a billion-dollar business. You say, well, it's because they're illegal. If they weren't illegal, then the Mexican cartels wouldn't be able to charge them the fees that generate $15 billion in revenues. I'd like to ask you how you understand that if they have the pervasive control of the Mexican side that the Border Patrol tells me they have, how come they couldn't continue to charge the fees that they're torturing people over and placing children in indentured servitude in the United States? Why couldn't they continue to do that in a failed narco state of Mexico?
Well, we actually have experience with legal immigration of Mexicans and Central Americans.
You're not going to answer my question about why they can't continue to charge the fees?
We have H-2A guest worker programs that allow people to come, and they're not controlled by the cartels. We should expand those guest worker programs to allow people to come legally.
My question to you, sir, sir, if I'm not going to let you filibuster my time, I'm going to let you answer my question on my time.
You asked me a question, you attacked me.
I'm going to let you answer my question if you answer my question. But that question is, what would prevent cartels from charging legal immigrants if they were coming across en masse?
Well, because we already have experience with this, sir. We have legal immigration. It's just extremely unusual and constrained. We have no year-round guest worker program.
Right. I'm not talking about guest worker programs. I've asked the question twice. You don't want to answer it. That's fine.
That's legal immigration, sir.
Let me say this. In January of this year, in January 5, in Culiacan, there was open warfare between the Mexican military and the Sinaloa cartel as the Mexican military sought to arrest Ovidio Guzman. They burned cars. They had Sinaloa soldiers running around on narco tanks, firing 50 caliber weapons at military aircraft in the air. That's a cartel that you are strengthening with your ideology, sir. And the members of this committee, the minority who have advocated for this relentlessly, and the President of the United States and Secretary Mayorkas. And if you think it can occur in the United States, just keep going. You can come back then when you're advocates. You know, the other thing you said that's remarkable to me is what you think we need to do is have more legalization of fentanyl across the United States. That sounds like a great plan. I'd suggest you go read San Francisco by Michael Schellenberger about what's happened in that city. It is outrageous. It is as misguided as any policy I've ever seen in the history of mankind. And in the name of humanity,
I said we should
in the
let
name
doctors.
of humaneness, I don't want to hear any more of your economic arguments. I'm concerned about Carolina Yoke and those other people who've been distributed across the country to people they don't know, to homes that don't care for them, to go work in factories as children. That's not the way it's supposed to be, but it is the result of what you have advocated. My time's expired.
It's not the result of what I've advocated at all.
Gentleman's time has expired.